How's it going? This is your Supply Chain Pro here, and in today's video, we will be exploring labor planning in the supply chain industry. Effective labor planning can be the difference between happy customers receiving their orders on time as expected and unhappy customers having delays in their order fulfillment. Remember, the purpose of business is its long-term sustainability, and unhappy customers over long periods of time are likely to go elsewhere if they are dissatisfied with your service. Also, labor planning can impact the team's morale. If the team members have to stay until they finish the work each day and there's an indefinite outtime, which may not be preferential for the employees' lifestyles. On the flip side, if you are overstaffed and full-time employees are only allowed to work 20 hours per week consistently, they may not be able to afford their lifestyle and may seek more hours elsewhere. In a previous video on the channel, we explored the basics of productivity on the job. As a quick review, productivity is one of the essential functions to understand when labor planning. Productivity is simply defined as units divided by time. The most common productivity metrics are pallets per hour or cases per hour. However, any unit can be put in the numerator and any amount of time can be put in the denominator to determine a productivity rate, such as pages per minute for a printing rate, for example. The first step to creating a successful labor plan is understanding your team's average productivity rate. This is normally calculated on a per-hour basis. The second part of labor planning is the forecasted or anticipated volume. There are multiple different ways you can anticipate your upcoming volume. Some businesses have a forecast that is a system-generated estimate of demand for their product. Organizations can allow lead time when placing an order, for example, and if you know when an order will ship, for example, 2 weeks from now, you have time to build a labor plan off of the quantity and the shipping date. Finally, some organizations do not have other tools to help anticipate volume. If you work in a direct-to-consumer situation, it is very difficult to forecast the success of a one-time promotion. Your Supply Chain Pro's tip in this scenario is to track your weekly volume, and you can compare previous and similar scenarios in time from the past to estimate your volume now. If your company is always busy for Black Friday and Cyber Monday with online shoppers, you can use last year's volume record to help anticipate what you need this year from your team. There are two different equations necessary for labor planning. The first equation is total volume divided by units per hour rate to get your total hours needed. This tells you how many hours you need to complete the workload. The second equation takes the total hours needed, divides it by your normal shift length. This equation tells you how many team members are needed to complete this work. The goal here is to make the end calculation match for both equations or at least be close. In the event that they don't match or they're not even close, we will explore some options later in the video on how you can handle that situation. Using an example for a daily labor plan, let's say that you have a total workload of 5,000 cases needing to ship today. If each team member processes a rate of 100 cases per hour, you need a total of 50 labor hours to complete today's required workload. If you are working 8-hour shifts, 50 hours divided by 8 hours equals 6.25 team members. As you look at your staffing for the day, if you have 6 or 7 team members, you'll be reasonably close and your labor plan will be successful. If you only have 4 team members, it is unlikely you will finish all of your 5,000 cases in your 8-hour day today. And if you have 10 employees, each team member will only work approximately half of their shift before the 5,000 cases is complete. Let's explore a weekly labor plan, for example, where between Monday and Friday your company will need to process for shipment 30,000 cases. Using the same rate per hour and shift length, your 30,000 case volume divided by 100 cases per hour equals 300 labor hours needed for the 5-day week to complete the required volume. If you work 8-hour shifts, divide the 300 hours by 8 to get 37.5 shifts needed this week. 37.5 shifts divided by 5 days in a week equals 7.5. Your team must average 7.5 employees working on this volume each day in order to complete the required workload on time. If you only have 6 employees in the building all week, you will not be able to complete the required volume. If you have 10 employees, you will have more labor than is needed to complete the job in 8-hour shifts on this volume. So far in this video, we've explored how to calculate the required workload and compare it to our staffing. For the remainder of the video, we will explore the different options that a department leader has when the labor plan does not match. In the event that you have more required labor hours to complete the workload than available with your staffing, the most common solution is going to be overtime. Changing your shift to a 10-hour shift increases the total amount of hours you have for your team. You could do 10-hour shifts, or you could do 12-hour shifts. You could mandate a 6th workday at 8 hours. All of these are short-term options that you have if your available employees' hours are short of the required labor hours. Another option that you have is to explore if you can push out some of the volume to a later date so that you don't fall behind on the required completion date. If you find that your team is consistently understaffed and you are consistently required to work overtime in order to meet your deadline, you may need to hire additional staffing. If you find that you have more staffing than the volume requires, you have a few different options available. It is not advised to slow down your work when there is less work to do to stretch out the required workload. Some employees may want to do this, however, it is not in the best interest of the company to do so. The easiest answer to this problem is going to be to offer voluntary early departures for your team members. Chances are, if you have 10 employees, a few of them may want to get out early a day or two if they have things to do in their personal life. You are hitting 3 birds with 1 stone in this scenario. It's good for the company financially because the labor plan matches. It's good for the employee because they get unplanned but yet preferred free time off of work in their daily life. And finally, this helps with employee morale when employees are given options and feel that their voices are respected and heard. Another option that you have is transferring some of your labor to another area. In a large multi-department facility, each department will run a labor plan each day, and slow departments can send excess workers to other departments that are busier to help even out the peaks and valleys in a business. If there are any large projects, such as reorganizing the supply room or resequencing the locations in a certain department, your labor plan will tell you that you have excess labor and you can devote this excess labor to these projects. Labor planning is essential for any leader to responsibly manage their team. If you have questions on how labor planning works at your job, or if you think your boss doesn't know how to labor plan, comment down below. In the future, there will be a link in the description of this video below, linking you to labor planning tools and resources. Continue to check the description when that occurs. Like and subscribe if you found value in any of the content presented in this video. This is your Supply Chain Pro, out.